Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Rise and Shine. My name is McLean Warren, and I am a co-owner of Liaison Marketing. We are here with Dan Trumbull and Brandon Fields. You guys want to say hi, introduce yourselves?
Good morning, Dan Trumbull here. Rise and Shine, Rise Above, Dan Trumbull Consulting.
Hey guys, I'm Brendan. I'm the owner of Rebate and 10-year e-commerce seller.
Nice. And so we all collaborate on this project called Rise and Shine. And we're really excited to have both Nick and Tal on here. I would love for you guys to kind of give a little briefing on what it is you do and how it relates to Amazon and e-commerce. Tal, I'll let you go first.
Sure. My name is Talal Assad. I am the founder of Brand Together, an e-commerce cooperative. And so we have like a collaborative group of a bunch of different companies. And we do all things e-commerce and mainly focus on Amazon, but we are stretching out into kind of the native platforms as well.
And Nick?
Yeah, thanks for having me. I've been on Amazon for about 12 years and consulting for a couple years. So I run proamzcoach.com, and just within the past year, we started our own 3PL located in Kansas called Seller Shipping. Sellershipping.co is where you can find us. So that's our latest venture.
Now, other than Brendan, do any of you guys, I've never asked, do any of you guys currently sell on Amazon?
Yes, I do.
You do?
I do not have my own products on Amazon. No.
Okay. Have you ever?
No.
No, you're fine. I haven't
Yeah.
either. As much as I love like helping people sell on Amazon, I have personally no desire to sell on Amazon.
Yeah, like I've never put the investment in myself, but I have worked as like for companies that did as like an early founder.
Nice.
But I wouldn't count it.
Fair enough. Dan, you don't anymore, do you?
Yeah, I do.
You do?
Yep.
Oh.
Currently managing more than 20,000 SKUs, and I think I have 41 private label items active.
Oh, I didn't know those were yours specifically. I thought they were for
I have 41, and then I have launched another 400 or 500 on behalf of clients. And then the 20,000 SKUs that I manage are a mix of my own, because I still have thousands of wholesale items. And then I manage sometimes for very specific clients, I manage their entire Amazon account. So collectively about 20,000 SKUs between 5 or 6 accounts.
Nice. Well, I'm glad we have a group of eclectic backgrounds, and I'm excited to hear everyone's feedback today. The topic is going to be about recent changes with Amazon's TOS, specifically in regards to the backend fields, with the keyword section, with the front end section, and bullet changes in certain categories. And we can even broach on Amazon's recent changes to TOS regarding emails being sent out for reviews. So with that being said, I would love, Brendan, why don't you start us off? Let's first kind of address what's going on with the back end first. Maybe if you want to talk a little bit about the changes, and then we'll kind of get an idea of why they think they have been made, what the benefits are to Amazon, what the benefits are to clients or sellers, and then go from there.
Sure. Yeah. So as far as the feedback stuff goes, that's not something that I follow too closely. As far as like, I am familiar now, they have a request review button. That's not something I use, so maybe somebody else could speak to that. And I guess maybe it's been 6 months or 9 months, they changed the layout of the Seller Central dashboard. In my opinion, and I think I share this opinion with most people, I think it's gotten much worse. There's much less information. And I don't mean to kind of put my conspiracy cap on, but I do think to some extent, they've deliberately offered less information and taken away some buttons and some displays that were costly to them, both as far as support like case log and claims on shipping. Just things have gotten hard, and it doesn't seem to me to be, it seems to be hard to explain other than maybe a deliberate thing by Amazon to benefit them. So like specifically with with the dashboard. So like case log, I think probably most sellers have figured out where to find it now, but it's exceedingly difficult to find the case log button. And I've been selling on Amazon for almost 10 years. It took me like a day to figure out how to reach them. So stuff like that I think is big. Another thing that this has been like a year, and I don't know if anybody else noticed it, but it used to be much easier to reconcile shipments and see what was inbound and associate the inbound shipment with a shipment ID. So like it used to be and I'm actually looking my Seller Central account now. It used to be you would see your inbound units, then you could actually click on that and see what shipment IDs were included, what those actually, it could be one or multiple. They took that away. So you actually have to manually, unless you have some tool, you have to manually figure out what shipment IDs are associated with those inbound shipments. And Amazon is losing more stuff than ever there. Shipments are more delayed than ever. And it just becomes so difficult to try to figure out, what's missing. And so, without going too far in that, I do think sellers either need to use third-party tools that make, the processes easier, or just figure out your own system. But at least in those two areas, I do think Amazon is not really helping sellers with some of these changes.
And do you think that's to avoid hiring more people to help with the influx of, questions and, when people call in to have stuff changed? Is that what your thinking is behind that?
Yeah, for sure. So like I, again, and maybe I'm venturing a little bit, askew of what I know, but I do get the sense that, like stuff with like the case log, it's almost like they're deliberately offer bad service to sellers so that they seek resolutions within the forums and within seller communities, as opposed to defaulting to just sending them a message. At least I'll speak for myself. Unless I have an urgent issue with Amazon, my first place I look when I have some issue is the forums, the Facebook groups, reach out to other sellers I know, because I know with seller support, I'm just going to, I was going to say pull my hair out, but that's not.
You've dealt with them a lot over the years.
Yeah, I guess, because of Amazon, but yeah, no, I do think that Amazon is deliberately making it more difficult to contact them, and more difficult to reconcile shipments and do some tasks that are not necessarily in their interest that you do. So
I'd like to expand on the seller support issue. So I think that it's kind of like a confluence of all terrible things, right? It's COVID, and then they allow way too many people onto the platform without pre-vetting. And I think as us who have been on the forums forever, either on the Amazon seller forums or more importantly, like the Amazon seller groups on Facebook, you see how many really bad questions there are consistently, like questions that you could literally Google within seconds. And so we have to kind of put ourselves in Amazon's shoes, where it's like, if people are asking these questions in the Facebook group where they could like have scrolled and seen the answer, or type it into the group, or even just Googled on their own and answered it, imagine how many questions Amazon Seller Central is getting at all the time. So I kind of understand why Amazon's trying to thwart people from using their seller support and like turning off their phones, especially for the catalog team, which is by far the most annoying one in my opinion. But at the same time, like it's not, that shouldn't be an us problem. That is still an Amazon problem, right? Like if you're going to open your marketplace up and you're going to allow 10,000 new sellers a week or whatever that statistic was, it's like, then maybe you should have a little bit more of like a formal like onboarding process before you allow, before you make it harder for like the sellers to sell.
Dan, do you have a comment about that?
I have like a million. So
No, not you.
yeah, I know, right? So I 100% agree with Brendan. There is subterfuge. There is, it's not a conspiracy theory. Amazon is absolutely driving people to their self-help tools But I also agree with Tal, right? Because from a business perspective, to answer the same question, like how do I add an image to a listing? Like that is a simple question that either Googling, forums, Facebook, or even their self-help tools, they literally have like a 2-minute video in the Seller University that is how to add an image. So they have a lot of great self-help tools, and they point people to them. And to Tal's point, and they pulled the plug on seller support. Since October 2018, technically there is no seller support over the phone. Now, I recognize that people do call and they get help, but that is not the standard. So they want you to use the self-help tools. If you can't resolve your issue, they want you to find the answer somewhere else. And then if you still can't find it, I think I counted last time I checked, it was 14 clicks to get to a point where you can actually open a case. And I recognize that there's different paths, and there's a ton of different paths. And of course, the paths are different depending on what type of case you're opening, but ultimately they shouldn't call themselves seller support. They should change the name of that, because to call them support is laughable.
Fair enough. Nick, everyone's been talking about the issues with these specific changes. I would love to know what your opinion is regarding the best resolution to both sides of the issue.
To both sides of what issue?
Well, just like with Amazon being inundated with the same questions, with the same people that obviously haven't done their homework, but also making it so that sellers feel like they do have support and they have someone to help them with, any issues they're having.
Yeah, I mean, from my view, there's no good answer that can come from our side of the house. As Tal said, it has to come from Amazon's side, and I certainly understand from a business perspective why they are doing what they're doing. But the issue that I find is, it's always the 80-20. You're going to have 80% of the people who are asking the same questions, but really where the pain comes in is that 20%. And I deal with that a lot when I help people. Is I need to know, okay, you're denying me because I'm trying to get ungated. What specifically is the issue? But they always give the copy and paste, and there's other reasons that I think are going on for that. But I need to update my title. I followed your directions. It doesn't work. There's something going on in the back end, but they just copy and paste. Here's how to update your title. So there's definitely an escalation point that is missing. And that has to come from Amazon, because we don't have access to the other side. We don't have access to their system. So, but what I would tell people, 80% of your answers are going to be out there. That's what I would tell the average person sitting at their computer. Like, how do I figure this out? 80% of the answers are going to be out there somewhere. Just takes some legwork. The other 20%, you're just going to have to be really, really annoying and ask the same question over and over to Amazon. I've had cases that have gone on for 4 and 5 months on one issue with Amazon. So, you learn not to get frustrated anymore and just take it in stride.
So I wonder what you guys think of this new thing where Amazon is actually selling dedicated support. So it's like their support is horrible, and we can go back and forth on why, and that, I guess some of it is from just dumb questions, but Amazon now is selling for thousands of dollars, and I don't know the number off the top of my head, but where you have a person who's your contact at Amazon, and presumably they're going to answer questions, and they're actually going to write a response rather than the copy and paste and just form replies. But it's just on an ethical level, it's like offering such bad service. It's critical. In some cases, you really need their help. They're not going to provide it right away. You'll have to keep pushing at them, like Nick said. And maybe you eventually get an answer, or you can pay them. I have to look it up. Maybe somebody looks it up while I'm talking, but it's like $5,000 or $7,000 or $10,000 a year, or something like that, to actually have somebody to reply to you. So
yeah. If that person was actually a seller support person, like meaning they have catalog and they have FBA and they have brand registry credentials, I would pay, or I would instruct at least some of my bigger clients to pay that in a heartbeat. The problem is that group doesn't even do that. They just and it's like you can pay, I think it's something like it starts at like $3,000 plus like 4% or something. I can look it up pretty quickly.
Oh, that's
But
right.
like you don't even get a seller support rep. You get someone who can kind of maybe push you into some deals once in a while, and then they just really tell you to spend more money on Amazon. And it's like, just give me a seller support rep. I'm glad to pay that, or not me, but I'm glad to have them pay it.
A percent of sales is the biggest slap in the face. So it's like you already, between all the fees, you give, it's a lot. It costs a lot to sell on Amazon. And but like if it's a fixed price, I kind of get it. Like a percent of your sales, that to me is just wacky. But I guess people do it, right? That's why they offer it. So.
Well, even from back to the ethical issue, like if you have someone that literally is working at Amazon that knows the ins and outs of everything, then you would have that selling advantage because they have all the information and the data. You know what I'm saying? Like, it just seems like you would have an unfair advantage from other sellers, and that itself is just odd to me. I do want to kind of go into a different subject that is more of a recent change than what you were talking about, Brendan, which is that a lot of people in certain categories like home and kitchen are now finding that in the keyword section, they no longer have the other attributes fields, the target audience fields, the subject matter, all these areas that both helped product rank and that the algorithm was pulling information from for PPC. So we've now seen a depletion of these in a lot of accounts, and they've added more bullets to the front end. So now a lot of people are seeing, instead of 5, they have 10. With that being said, my question, and I will ask Dan this one, what do you think would be the reasoning behind now getting rid of all these fields and then moving all that information back to the front, which is essentially what they're doing?
Yeah, so I think the two subjects tie in together, and I think that it's Amazon's effort to continue to try and simplify this venue for especially that 80%, right, that Nick was talking about. So 80% of people aren't multi-million-dollar sellers. They're people starting up or earning a part-time income. They have a second, a primary source of income, or a partner that provides most of the household income. And this is a hobby business, so to speak. It's not their primary income. And those people don't learn the venue as well as people that do it all day, every day, eat, sleep, breathe Amazon, like us. But so I think that it's to simplify the back end, right? Because when I talk to clients, and most of my clients, I specialize in newer clients, people that are probably within their first 12 months of Amazon, or maybe even step one is, all right, step one is you open your Amazon seller account. So literally super green. And they ask me every single time, what are platinum keywords? So people don't know what target audience is, and people don't know, so I think Amazon has eliminated or moved or simplified that page to really reduce the cost of managing third-party sellers, right? Because while we drive more than 50% of the revenue, there's also overhead attached to managing us, the 3 to 5 million people that are, constantly calling, emailing, complaining, oh, I should get this $1.73 back because it was a missed shipment delay and it was an FBA item. All that stuff costs them money because they have to pay the employees that manage it. So I think the adding of the bullet points and subtracting of some of the information that is less, I don't know, it's not as clear, right? It's not as transparent. What's target audience? Well, if you ask 5 of us that question, the 5 of us will have 5 different answers. Generally speaking, we'll all come to the same conclusion. But if you ask a new seller, it's going to be a 6th answer, and it's probably not going to be right. So I think that a lot of that information was lost. Now, I know lots of folks who, they'll be like, why isn't my item selling? And I'm like, well, let's take a look at your keywords page. Where do I find that? Oh, I think we've discovered why your item's not selling. Yeah. Right? So I think it's an attempt to simplify things for sellers and also reduce the cost of managing sellers.
And one other thing too, I think part of the reason that they took that away, or they don't need it, is Amazon actually probably knows more about your product than you do from the perspective of shoppers. So they're like the pioneers of artificial intelligence. Now we're one of them. And they're obviously harvesting all this information about what shoppers search for to buy your product, and what they search for and don't buy it. And they have so much data, they don't really need you to tell them what subject matter your product is. They know better than you, to be honest, in most cases.
So true. So true.
And then I guess going back to the thing of subject matter, like I think we've heard for so long that subject matter influences stuff, but do we know that for sure? You know what I mean? Like, has it just become institutional sort of like, I don't want to call it institutional knowledge, but like you go in through all the different like forums of, or even the Helium 10 forums, and we always talk about adding subject matter, but like, is that just a holdover from the Amazon Seller Central book days where subject matter made a difference, and now we're putting words in there, and like, does it actually do something? Like, I don't even know.
Well, I would argue that a lot of people, the issue isn't whether it does something or not, it's that whether people are filling it out correctly. Because if you look at the guidelines for how to fill out your subject matter fields, it's very specific. Like they want, if you're going to use a phrase, they want it hyphenated between each word. They're very weird about like how you say 4th of July versus spelling out 4th of July. Like it's just really specific the way you're supposed to fill it out. And I think what was happening was a lot of people didn't know how to fill it out. So I think it goes back to trying to simplify it. I think what Dan was saying, trying to simplify it for people that really just don't know those specific details. Nick, I'm going to ask you to go back to the bullets. One thing I would say is that for the most part, people are very image driven, right? Like most people jump on a listing for 4 seconds. If they like what they see, they'll stay on it for another 17 seconds, but they're not going to sit and read each bullet or the product details. They want to see the photos, the reviews. They might look over, a few bullets, but they're not going to sit there and read. So what do you think the value would be behind adding more bullets to that section?
Man, that's a good question. Whenever I think about this type of stuff, it always goes, follow the money. What is the money, where are they spending money? It goes a lot to what Dan said. And I think I think it's a process of simplification for them to manage sellers. I don't think I personally don't think, it could be wrong, but I don't think it's because they are saying, yes, if we add 5 more bullets for each listing, then people are going to read all those bullets. I mean, our attention span is at an all-time low in humanity. So what? Huh?
Yeah. What's going on?
Squirrel. Yeah.
Are we on?
So it's like, I mean, to me, it's about a process of simplification. I wholeheartedly agree with a lot of what Dan and Brendan and Tall said. I mean, it costs money to manage people, and I think it just simplifies the process. So I don't think it's going to have an impact on me as a customer going, oh gosh, yep, that's 5th bullet point. Now I'm going to read 6, 7, 8, 9. This is great stuff. This is really great copy. Like, I don't think it's going to happen. But I think I think it's a way to, okay, now we're going to have bullet points that they're all going to be bullet points instead of having some over here on this end that's on the back end, some over here, et cetera, et cetera.
And I do think it's important to note that what I've seen, at least with a lot of our clients, is that a lot of those fields like target audience and other attributes and style, a lot of them have moved into the more detail section. So I would argue that you are still utilizing, Amazon is still utilizing a lot of that information. Sure. But I think it's more just to get the relevancy of the product to the category. And it's also just to, sorry, I actually completely forgot what I was going to say. But yeah.
I don't mean to cut you off, but the other thing is that, like everything Amazon does, there's going to be like 90% of people watching this who are probably like, what are they talking about? Like, I still have 5 bullet points. I still have like, this is going to take years to roll out. I mean, because whenever they're still making changes that some people are like, I don't see it. I don't have any idea what you're talking about. And this was stuff that we started talking about, 3 years ago. It's like, oh yeah, you're going to start seeing, I can't think of an example off the top of my head, but you're going to start seeing, whatever. Anyways, but it just takes them
Yeah, not
years to roll this stuff out. So yeah.
Yeah.
So
I have 2 products in 2 different accounts, like 2 different companies that I'm consulting with, the exact same browse node path, which in theory should mean the exact same template and front end. Both front ends are different, both back ends are completely different. It just, one was like 4 years, one has been around for 4 or 5 years, and one is a new account. And so there's just completely different back end
Hey, Tal,
experience.
are they in the same, are they both US accounts or one?
They are both US accounts as
Wow,
well. They're just from the time when they were registered is really a holdover versus not.
Yeah. Hey, the other thing I wanted to just tack on to what Nick was saying in regard to adding 5 more bullet points. The only thing that I think, I also agree, no one's going to read 10 bullet points, right? But it could increase discoverability if you use them correctly. That's the only thing I can think of as an advantage for sellers and or Amazon.
Yeah, I think kind of an overarching theme with all this stuff is everything Amazon does is to some extent or fully deliberate. So like what you'll see as a shopper, like if you buy stuff on Amazon, once in a while I'll see like the add to cart button is a different shade of orange, or it's a different shape, or what they're doing is they're A/B testing on shoppers. So they're doing slight different features. Maybe they test with 10 bullet points versus 5, and they see a slight uptick in conversion rate across millions of sessions, millions of tests with this slight change. And then they're going to start rolling it out, more broadly on the website. So that's what all this stuff is just constant test and iteration by Amazon. I think it's safe to assume if they're doing something, it's deliberate, they have data behind it, and it's going to benefit them. I mean, I think it's as simple as that.
Agreed. And I would say for those watching, this, one thing to keep in mind, circling back to the what are people going to read or not read, you do want to convey all of your features and benefits of your product. So if you do have 10 bullets, my personal opinion is keep them really short, just make it concise so people can tick through all of them and get an overview of what all of those features and benefits are. I don't know if any of you guys have a specific opinion or even know if there is a suggested character limit or character max. But I would say keep it under 100, 150 characters. Just make sure you have your keywords in there. Nick, do you have an opinion about that?
yeah, instantly when you said, is there a max? I was like, it varies. Like by category, like
it really does.
Yeah, I mean, it varies. As a general rule, I tell my clients if you're over 150 characters, of course, characters including spaces, then you should be getting a little uncomfortable in your seat. I always say no more than 2 lines as it appears like on your desktop, no more than 3 lines at a max. But you got to keep it short. I'm a fan of the, capitalize the first couple words as, hey, I'm calling out a feature, and then people can read it if they want. I've never had a problem with Amazon suppressing that. I know they're on and off about doing all caps, but I've never had a problem with it. But that's kind of my style of what I like to do.
Tall.
Yeah. I feel as we're moving more and more toward mobile purchases, and if you're on like the mobile experience, bullet points are not even the first thing that pops up. And now apparently over 50% of sales are coming from, or not sales, but at least 50% of sessions are coming from mobile. And so in that case, it's like, do we put so much, care on the bullet points as like a conversion tool, or is the bullet points more of like a really highly indexed discovery tool? And then we really try to sell them out on the on the enhanced brand content or on the description part of it. So yeah, I mean, I agree with you in terms of brevity is always better when you're a writer. But then always just kind of balancing that with the discoverability and making sure that you at least stuff the biggest keywords in the first couple of bullets to make sure, and then save your like money back guarantee or about the company sort of toward the last bullet where, you know, it might not be indexed as much and people don't really care at that point.
Yeah, Tom made a great point. Definitely one of the huge values of the bullet points is putting keywords in it. So Amazon is indexing and ranking for keywords in bullet points. So putting your primary keyword phrase at the beginning of your title, putting it in your first bullet point and second bullet point, those are critically important things. So I think it's at least as important from a keyword ranking perspective as it is from a shopper experience, because a lot of the shoppers, they're looking at the picture first, price second, and maybe glancing at the bullet points, but they're not, unless it's a compatibility thing. So I think electronics, sometimes they want to, make sure that such and such product fits with my computer, my phone, but other items, I think it's definitely photo and price are the main drivers.
Now, I just kind of want to bring all of this together because we've touched on, different subjects. The main one being the overarching idea being that Amazon continually changes its infrastructure essentially to ensure that they A, make money, and B, the customers have a great experience. And then probably C is that the sellers have a user-friendly interface to deal with. So that brings me to the question, and I know all three of you are in consulting, so you probably have a specific opinion about this, but do you think for the average Amazon seller, it does make sense to hire someone, whether it's a VA or a consulting company or something like that, to really guide you through all of this stuff? Because it does get overwhelming for a lot of people, and a lot of people might not know they have certain back-end fields, like you guys suggested. Dan, I'll let you take that topic.
Sure. So, I might be biased, but I think that hiring a mentor slash advocate of some sort, especially if you're in the first 24 months of your Amazon journey, it's good. It's better than not. It's better than going it alone, and you'll be much more likely to actually launch products on Amazon. Not to say that you can't do it on your own. Lots of people have, but you'll make more mistakes, which will cost more money and more time. So if you're more interested in learning the process in a collaborative way and getting your products up for sale according to what Amazon terms of service says, then I would say bring an expert in, just like any business, not just for Amazon. If I'm going to start a mechanic's garage, I'm not a mechanic, so I need someone with that knowledge that can be an advocate and or team member that I can collaborate with. Otherwise, I'm going to have to learn a bunch of stuff. Again, not to say that you can't do it without your mentor slash advocate, but it's harder and it takes longer, costs more money, makes more mistakes.
Tal, this question was for Tal and Nick and Brendan, if you have an opinion about it. One, you can answer my initial question, but more importantly, I'm curious because there are so many VAs out there, right? I mean, there's VAs, the market's saturated with VAs. So the question becomes, how does a seller decide who is experienced enough or who really knows what they're doing? What are the right questions to ask if you are interested in seeking out a mentor? Nick, I'll let you go first, and then Tal, you can piggyback off that.
Yeah, I mean, to me, I put myself in the customer's chair, and if I was looking for a mentor or some help, the first thing you need to do is figure out what exactly do I need help with. I mean, not just, oh, I can't figure something out, but I mean, what is it? Do I just need help churning reports? Do I just need help doing tasks? If it's just ABC type of stuff, then that's probably more something that a VA would be suited for. If it's higher level stuff, if it's like, man, I really need somebody I can talk a month out, 5 months out, 10 months out, what do I need to be thinking about every step of the way, then that's probably more of like a mentor, somebody, one of us on the call, more suited to us. So the questions, in my mind, the questions, once you figure out what you want out of that person you're hiring, the questions really come about, specific questions. How many clients do you have? Maybe they'll tell you, maybe they won't, but don't be afraid to ask questions. You can ask questions, and if people say, I'm not comfortable sharing that, you don't have to be offended. They don't have to be offended. You just say, okay, I'll just make a note. But don't be afraid to ask questions. If people are doing good work out there, then they're going to be happy to answer just about every question that you have. So don't be afraid to ask specific questions. Do you sell on Amazon yourself? And that's, if they do, great. If not, that doesn't mean they're not the right candidate. It just, you have to figure out, does that lend itself to what I need out of a person? The fact that they don't sell on Amazon right now, that doesn't mean that they can't help you, because there's a lot of people. I mean, like Tall, for example, he's done a lot of great work, and there's a lot of times where I'm like, wow, I didn't know that. He'll make a point about something, I'll go, oh, I didn't know that, and I feel like I've been doing this for a long time. So yeah, just that would be my best advice. Don't be afraid to ask specific questions.
Tal, do you have in your mind, or is there like, you say specific questions, Nick. Tal, what I'm curious to know is there from a mentor yourself, having a consulting company, do you have specific questions you would recommend people asking? I mean, obviously it depends on what they're looking for, but are there like standard questions that you're like, yes, this is what I would recommend no matter who you're looking into? These are the questions that I would definitely ask.
So I think to take it a step back, how are we defining VA? Like, is a VA like a virtual assistant that we don't really know, or is it like something that we're offshoring? Because like the notion of VA from like 4-hour work week, right, is just like all the stuff you don't want to do that you send off and it comes back like the next day when you wake up, right? So yeah, can we define VA versus consultant? Or
Well, I mean, I understand your question. That's kind of that's kind of my question to you is, what should people be looking for? I mean, like what is it? And again, it depends obviously on what their needs are.
yeah.
But my point in all of this is really, if someone feels overwhelmed and they don't feel like they fully understand how Amazon works, is it better to go with someone you find on Upwork or FreeUp or something like that, as opposed to going to a consulting firm? And how much time will you get with a consulting firm versus a VA?
Yeah. So I might be a contrarian in this. I come from a HIPAA data security standpoint background, and so for me, I am absolutely terrified to ever give anyone any sort of data that I don't fully know, trust, and can vet. And so for me, it's like, are they using unique logins to every single account, or do they have one unified login that could like get hit with a related account error and then shut down all of their, So I don't offshore anything on my end. I have a customer success manager, and she's based in the US, and I know her and met her, and she helps a lot with like, doing lots of manual keyword searches, or help writing the listings, jumping into like looking at thousands of keywords and putting them into campaigns for us, and things like that. But in terms of like logging into an account, like I would want to make sure that the person is based probably in the US and has experience with Amazon, and not just someone who like says they know Amazon on Upwork. I don't feel comfortable with that from my client's perspective. Now, I know if you are a private label seller, you might be more like, if you have your own seller account, you might be more willing to do that. But I have like a fiduciary responsibility to my clients, and if like my subcontractor messes up, I'm the one who's going to get in trouble, not my subcontractor.
Brendan, do you have any, again, I just want to focus, Tal, you brought up some really good points about privacy, but again, I want to circle back to, what are those questions that makes you know that someone is going to be a valuable asset to your company? Brendan, do you have an opinion about that?
Yeah, so to start, may not directly answer your question, but I feel like a VA, there's so many tools out there that automate a lot of processes, that's really what a VA does, right? So a lot of their work is, you know, I would say low skilled, it's lower skilled work that's very repetitive, redundant, and is something you don't want to spend the hours of your day working on. So I think as far as a VA, yeah, there's some tasks that there are not tools to do, but a lot of that you can actually find automation and third-party tools that will connect to your store and do that for you. In regards to what you say, like a coach or a consultant, yeah, I mean, obviously there are coaches and consultants or people who brand themselves as that have no e-commerce background. They read a book on it and they may know as little as the client that they're, taking on. So obviously you need to really vet their experience. And probably also if you get along with them, like I've talked to people and I know they know a lot about selling online, but I just, personality wise, you don't really feel it. And then other people, and you're like, right away you click and, you feel like they have some unique insight that you haven't heard before. And all of a sudden you're like, yeah, this is a good person. This is somebody I want to talk to every week or a few times a week. So I think that's probably a big part of it as well.
I think a specific question or two that you might want to ask someone is like, not only have they sold or how long have they sold for, but do they have experience selling in your category as well? Because I find category to category, there are different tactics involved and different ways of like showing the page and different ways of even giving expectations. McLean, you were on, Nick, both were on a call with me a few weeks ago where I was complaining that like, I am terrible at beauty and not personal care, but beauty especially. And so after
fine looking, don't worry about that.
Thank you. Now, so for me, it's just you have to just be very much like, as a consultant and coach, I want to be very much like cognizant of my strengths and weaknesses. And if my weakness is in beauty, but I'm doing really, really well in health and personal care and grocery, then I want to specialize in those two while I learn the other one. But I feel like if you're asking someone, do you have experience? You should be asking them like, how many ASINs or SKUs have you ever managed in this category and for how long, and what levels of success have you had in those categories?
And I think circling back to, it was either, I believe Tal or Nick said this, but regarding how many accounts you're managing, that's a really important question to ask, not just because it speaks to your expertise, but it also gives a person insight into how needy, or I shouldn't say needy, how much attention they're going to need from you. Because I'm sure we've all been there where we've had clients, like there's certain ones that need to have their hand held like every second of the day, and then you have other clients that are pretty independent and they'll only email you every once in a while. So again, Dan, I'll let you kind of wrap up this question, but I think, and give me your input, but with regards to picking out a mentor, if that's something that you choose to do, I think it's important to understand yourself enough to know how much time am I going to require from this mentor? And does this mentor have enough time for me when they're managing, 800 ASINs or 800 clients?
Sure. Right. So I have a real particular position about virtual assistants. I think that they are exactly what they say they are. Virtual, meaning not with you physically, and they assist you. So it sounds simple, but the fact of the matter is, if you don't know what you're doing, you can't tell your assistant how to do it correctly. So if you don't know what you're doing on Amazon, you should not hire a virtual assistant. You should hire a collaborator or a consultant or a coach or a mentor, whatever you want to call it. But really, if it's a VA that you're looking for, you should already know what you're doing. So to everyone's point, every business is unique, more unique than human DNA, I would argue. So make sure you're asking all those questions, and whether someone can help you or not really depends on your specific situation, which will change month to month, year to year,
minute by minute.
Yeah, exactly right. And if you're selling on Amazon, minute by minute, exactly right. So, stay flexible, stay, open-minded. And if you're working with a mentor, ask questions specific to your situation and ask questions about them. To Brendan's point, if you don't get along with them, don't hire them. Like, I mean, everyone remembers the movie House or the show House, where he was kind of an asshole, but a great doctor. Don't pick out your consultant that way.
Or your doctor.
Well, I don't know. It was a good show anyway.
It was a good show.
Yeah.
All right, we're gonna wrap this up. I'm gonna let everyone go around the Zoom room and again, introduce yourselves and state the business in case anyone watching this is interested in directly, messaging you guys or emailing you or, seek your mentorship. So Dan, I'll let you go first, and then Tal, Nick, and Brendan, you can talk about Rebate for a second.
Thanks, McLean. Dan Trumbull here. You can reach me at dantrumbleconsulting.com. There's an opportunity for you to book a free 30-minute consultation with me. Feel free to do so. It populates directly into my calendar. Thanks for your time, everyone.
Tal, you're up.
Hi. So yeah, thank you so much. This was awesome. First of all, thank you so much, McLean, and everyone for putting it together. So I'm with Brand Together, and we are a brand cooperative and consultancy. So if you have a product that has kind of a robust e-commerce platform, or you've been selling on Amazon for a while and just need to take it to the next level, that's we like to do that sort of work. Brandtogether.io.
Oh yeah, make sure yeah. Nick
Custom Border. I am the owner at proamzcoach.com, where I specialize in really one-on-one type coaching. So kind of the hand holding, there's a lot of that goes on. There's a lot of people who have great ideas. I meet them probably every week. Great ideas, great inventions. I talked to a guy in Spain just last week who's got an amazing invention, and he's like, I know everything about my product and I know nothing about Amazon. So that's the perfect fit right there. So I'm working with him. So, and my other business is the 3PL that we have, sellershipping.co. We are still taking clients for Q4. A lot of them aren't.
Brendan.
So I'm the owner of rebate.com. It's a rebate-based launch platform. So we generate full price sales and help sellers launch their product. On Amazon, we actually recently expanded to support eBay, Walmart, Shopify stores. So we're kind of going broad, and it's been great. I started about 2 years ago, and in the last 6 months, we've grown like crazy. We've brought on tons of new sellers, have a huge group of shoppers that's growing, each day. And yeah, it's been a fun journey, and check it out, rebate.com.
Yeah. And finally, I am McLean Warren with Liaison Marketing. That's Liazon. And we're not necessarily a consulting company, but we do listing optimizations, PPC, photography, A+, pretty much all of the stuff you need to set up a listing. So definitely everyone watching this, you have a great group of guys here and girl that can probably help you in any aspect of your business. So definitely reach out to us. You can find us on the Rise Above platform. And Brendan, what's your social media platform for sellers?
Rebate.com.
No. I meant for on Facebook, sorry.
Oh, that's right. So we have Amazon Launch Strategies by Rebate. That's our Facebook group. And yeah, we got a lot of good content, good ideas posted in there.
Joining now.
You what?
I'm joining it now.
We're approaching 10,000. Maybe we'll do or a few hundred.
Right, well, thanks everyone. You guys were awesome, and we'll see you next week.
This was great. Thank you so
Thanks,
much.
McLean.
Thanks,
This was
everyone.
awesome. Appreciate it.
Bye.
Bye.